Ready for week 8. Season's flying by fast. Kind of sucks, but it's always pretty fun at the end of the season. So let's get on with the predictions. So yeah, welcome to the tailgate. We got a pretty good week of college football. There's a lot of ranked games, but not as many as other weeks. So unfortunately, I'm only able to do 8 games, but I still think it's gonna be pretty fun. And with that, let's go on to our first game. We're going straight to our 2:30 kickoff games because there's only one game on the early slate, and I think you know why I'm skipping it. So to start, we got Oregon versus Washington State. This game is losing a good bit of the attention that it had prior because Washington State just had 2 really bad losses, and with Oregon losing to Washington, we now have 2 teams that look to be undefeated going into this game, or at least one were going to be undefeated. Now they're both not undefeated, and Washington State's out the rankings. Teams are starting to crack down on Washington State's offense, and it's really hurt as Cameron Ward just not been playing that great, and Washington State having a really bad rushing offense doesn't help, and also their defense is really bad too, so it doesn't help either. Oregon's coming in after a really impressive showing, but unfortunately they still lost due to some questionable coaching by Danny Lanning. But with Bo Nix and all that talent still there, and their defense looking pretty solid after that game against Washington, especially in the second half, I think Oregon will come by and get some much needed momentum to carry into the rest of the season. I do think that with Washington State struggling, it's just going to continue. Maybe they'll keep it close for a half, but I think Oregon's got it in the second half, as I think Oregon is going to win 45-21. The next game I'm looking at is Tennessee versus Alabama. Last year this was a very fun game as Hendon Hooker bowled out, but now with him gone, it makes it a completely different game. Bama has a really good defense, and their offense has looked better than past weeks, but it's still kind of average. Tennessee's offense isn't as great as last year, of course, but it's still potent, as they have a really good rushing attack led by Jalen Wright, and Joe Milton can make plays, of course, whenever they need them. The big improvement for Tennessee is their defense. So unlike last year, we're going to have a complete 180, and this is going to be a defensive game in my opinion. This game is really tough for me to decide though. The big edge is that I think with Bama being at home this time, that's going to help out a lot. And with that, I don't think Tennessee is going to get another win back-to-back, so I think Bama's going to win a very close game, 24-21. Our next game in the 2:30 slate is West Virginia versus Oklahoma State. This is a very surprising game, as I did not think these teams were going to be pretty good this season. However, West Virginia is 4-2 in favor of Oklahoma State. The difference when looking at this game is West Virginia is coming off a terrible loss to Houston, where they lost on a Hail Mary. And if Oklahoma State, they started off the season terrible, they look like one of the worst teams in college football, but they've picked it up with good wins against K-State and Kansas, who was ranked. These teams don't have much of a defense. That's been shown, especially last week, for both West Virginia and Oklahoma State, but they both have solid offenses. West Virginia is a little more balanced in terms of the passing and rushing game. Oklahoma has a stronger passing attack, but a little weaker rushing attack. So, again, a very close game. I would initially think West Virginia would win this game with them at home, and they have looked better, but I just think with that really bad loss to Houston, it's really going to kind of hurt them mentally. And with Oklahoma State looking so good these last 2 weeks, I think it's in line for Oklahoma State to get a win and move to 5-2. So for me, I think Oklahoma State is going to win 38-35. Moving to our 3 o'clock games, we got a really good one to look at, in my opinion. Some action. Toledo versus Miami of Ohio. Toledo is doing about what I expected them to do. I said they were going to go 11-1, and right now they're 6-1, with their one loss being to Illinois, which I don't know exactly if I predicted that loss or not, but that probably was the one I projected. In Miami of Ohio, they're 6-1, and I did not expect that either. Their offense has been playing really good, mainly in the passing attack. Transfer wide receiver Gage Lavardin has been a huge help for them offensively. Their defense has been playing really good in MAC play. They struggled a little bit with Western Michigan, but their defense is still the best in the MAC right now. Toledo's defense I can't say the same for. However, their offensive total is a different story. They're, like I said, the reason I thought they're going to be so good is because almost all their offensive talent is returning, and you can see how much it's helping them. Their offense is better than Miami of Ohio by a pretty wide margin, by 70 yards, and they're better in both statistics. Slightly in passing, they are better yards-wise. However, I would say that as of right now, Brett Gabbert has been playing better statistically, of course, since they're more pass-heavy. And then for Toledo, their big offensive weapon has been their running back, Penny Boone, who's had almost 800 yards and 8 touchdowns in their 7 games. So it's been really good for these teams. This is a tough one for me to decide. I would like to pick Toledo because I said they're going to win the MAC this year. But with Miami of Ohio's defense looking so good and with a really good passing attack, I think it's going to be enough for them to win, especially with them at home, to take control of the MAC. So for me, I think Miami of Ohio is going to win 31-24. Our next game takes us to the night stretch, as first off we have Duke versus Florida State. This game, again, is kind of losing some of the attention that it had initially, as with no Riley Leonard, Duke is in a pretty rough spot. Henry Bellin played pretty good against NC State. However, he's not as good as Riley Leonard, and it's just really going to hurt because Duke really needs to be at 110% to really beat Florida State, especially because they're going to be on the road. Florida State, of course, has a very talented team. Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman, Jared Verse, just all across the field, they're good. I definitely won't be surprised. I definitely will not be surprised at all if Duke does play spoiler and happens to upset Florida State. But I just think with no Riley Leonard, Florida State having a better defense, in my opinion, in terms of talent, it's gonna be hard for Duke to really do it consistently for a full 4 quarters. So for me, I think Florida State is gonna win 34-21. The next game I'm looking at is USC versus Utah. USC is coming off a really bad loss to Notre Dame, and that loss can definitely show something to Utah that a defense that can get a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams is the big flaw to USC, as they don't have a defense. Utah is still questionable about if Cam Rising will play or not, and he was a huge part of their win against USC last year, as he had a lot of heroics in that regular season game, the 2-point conversion and all that. But I don't think he's going to play, which means it's probably going to be Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson playing. Utah does have a solid rushing attack though, which will help, and that was definitely a weakness for USC, as last week Aldrick Eston played pretty solid against USC. However, I think the big issue will just come with Cam Rising. There's just not going to be enough offense to seal the deal against USC. I do think this will be a close game, as Utah does have a very good defense, but I think USC will have a nice turnaround. I think USC will win this game 28-24. The last night game I'm looking at is Clemson versus Miami. These are two teams that are almost in the rankings, and they're both 4-2. Clemson is trying to rebound after their bad 2-2 start, and Miami's trying to rebound after 2 bad losses in a row. These teams are weird to look at. Miami does have a really good offense. Tyler Van Dyke has improved a ton from last year, and their offense looks really good. However, just the questions arise against Georgia Tech and North Carolina, where he played really bad against Georgia Tech, and then he played good in the first half against North Carolina, but played just okay in the second half. So that's just the big thing for Miami, and their defense is just all right compared to Clemson. Clemson's defense is, of course, one of the best in the country. It's really the main reason they win games, just because their offense has been really slow and pretty below average, kind of like we saw against Wake Forest. They won 17-12, a game they should have won by 30. But it's just kind of weird looking at this game. Clemson has more talent, in my opinion, and I think Dabo would definitely outcoach Cristobal. But of course, it's just how bad Clemson's offense is. I think Miami will, of course, hang on, and the defense will eventually get tired, and Miami will score some points. But I think Clemson will hold on. Very close game, though. I think Clemson will win 27-24. And to cap off the short prediction video, we travel back in time to 11 o'clock as we have Ohio State versus Penn State. I'm excited for this game. Of course, I have Ohio State ranked number 1, so I think this is the game to prove that I'm right. If they win this game, I think there's definitely a strong argument that they are the best team in the country. Of course, right there with Michigan, Georgia, just the entire top 5. That's really all I can say. Ohio State, of course, has a really talented offense. Kyle McCord's been playing pretty solid recently. And then, of course, their rushing attack. Travion Henderson, my receiving core, with Marvin Harrison, who is the best receiver in college football. And Emeka Egbuka, who's, of course, really good. He would be a #1 on most colleges if he just wasn't behind Marvin Harrison Jr. And then their leader on defense is Eisenberg, who's been playing really good and is the leader of that really tough Ohio State defense. For Penn State, they are playing really good too. The difference for me when looking at them compared to Ohio State is that Penn State doesn't have a single ranked win yet. Ohio State beat Notre Dame, and then I had Maryland ranked when they beat them. So that was, in my opinion, 2 ranked wins for Ohio State compared to Penn State's none. They are playing really good though, however. Drew Aller has been playing amazing. He's thrown 12 touchdowns, no picks. And then Penn State, of course, like always, has a really strong rushing attack led by Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. And of course, their defense is really good. Usually it's Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan all have top tier defenses. This is a tough game, man. Penn State, of course, is still questionable to me because, like I said, they haven't really played a great team yet. And Ohio State's offense is questionable because Kyle McCord has been pretty inconsistent and their offense is just picking it up finally. However, though, I do think that Ohio State has more talent all around, so I give them the slight edge. And to me, I think they're going to win a middle score game. And to me, I think Ohio State is going to win 28-24. It's going to be a great game, though, in my opinion. And that wraps up the predictions. So yeah, that's the video. Very quick one. You know, of course, like I said, I only had 8 games to pick, and I hope you enjoyed the video, unless I picked your team to lose. Sorry. I mean, if I picked them to lose, then come back and call me a loser. Okay, I enjoy it. But that's the video. Like, favorite, subscribe if you had, and as always, I will see y'all later.